Hello there. My name is William Vertrees, and today I want to ask you, how do you watch Star Wars? Do you watch it chronologically, episodes 1 through 6 in order? Or do you maybe watch it the way that George Lucas created them? Episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then episodes 1, 2, and 3. This is just one of many debates held by many Star Wars fans all over the world. And one of the other largest debates held by Star Wars fans is whether or not the prequel trilogy that Lucas created is better or is even as good as the original trilogy that fans all over the world love. Now, Star Wars is arguably one of the greatest cultural phenomenons over the last 100 years. And it has inspired and created millions and millions of fans, such as myself, to have tons and tons of debates over characters and story moves. But one of the longest held debates ever since the prequel trilogy came out in 1999 was whether or not these movies were even as good as the original trilogy. And in my opinion, they're great movies, but these movies get lots and lots of hate by a lot of fans, and I personally don't think that it deserves that. Are they as good as the original trilogy? Maybe not, but they definitely don't deserve the hate they are given. And today I would like to break down my reasons why I think that the prequel trilogy doesn't deserve nearly as much hate as many fans give it. So today I'm going to take you through all of the prequel trilogy movies. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and give you some of the pros and cons of each of those movies to help maybe clear up some of the reasons why the fans hate it or don't hate it, and maybe even get you to rethink some of your stances on these movies, or even watch them yourself if you haven't seen them before. So with that being said, let's get into the movies. So the first movie on this list is Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This movie came out in 1999, and it kind of came as a surprise. It was made almost 20 years after the last Star Wars had come out, Episode 6, and many fans didn't think that they were going to get more Star Wars content from George Lucas. But thankfully, we did, but it also came with a little bit of controversy. Lucas made some weird moves in this movie, and even though we got to see new aspects of the Star Wars universe that we hadn't before, he created some new characters that were kind of disputed, like Jar Jar Binks and Padme Amidala as a love interest for Anakin Skywalker. He didn't do so well in the dialogue department as he did in the original trilogy either. And even though some of the story plots work, they aren't done as well as they can be. And he also made some questionable overall moves for the whole Star Wars universe that a lot of people got upset with, like the midichlorians being a microscopic symbiotic organism that gives you the Force instead of it being some mystical source of power throughout the universe. And this caused a lot of division amongst the Star Wars fans. But besides these little drawbacks that can cause a lot of disputes, there are a lot of great things that this movie did. It brought in a whole new cast of characters for us to fall in love with. We met Padme Amidala, and we got to meet a young Anakin Skywalker right when he was discovered by the Jedi. We got to see what the Jedi were like back in their heyday in the Great Old Republic. We get to meet a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, who was played by Ewan McGregor. And it's great to see an old character return, and even see characters like Yoda come back and see them as younger. And we get to meet newer characters like Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan's master, Mace Windu, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and a whole host of new characters that make the new franchise come to life a little bit more. And we get all new amazing battle sequences, lightsaber duels that we never thought we'd get before, with more acrobatics and all kinds of fancy stuff. And it's just overall a great movie, and I definitely think it deserves a lot more respect than it's given, considering it's one of the lowest rated Star Wars movies on Rotten Tomatoes or on IMDb. So with that being said, that's why I like that movie so much, because of all the new characters. Now let's move forward into Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now this movie definitely gets the most hate out of all of them, and it has some good reason for that. The acting wasn't the best. It takes place 10 years after the events of Phantom Menace, and we get to see an older Anakin Skywalker. And the actor who they got to portray him, Hayden Christensen, wasn't the best at the role, or at least his character wasn't written very well, and a lot of the lines seem somewhat choppy, especially when it came to his relationship with Padme that are involved in this movie particularly. Seemed a little awkward at times. And this movie also used the most CGI out of any Lucasfilm movie so far, and it got a little bit overused in parts. But if you can look back these things, which definitely do impact the movie negatively in a lot of respects, and go through to the positives, it really can turn into a great movie. The use of the CGI made things possible that we'd never seen before, like getting to see Master Yoda in a Jedi lightsaber duel, or getting to see a whole host of clone armies flood an entire stadium, and stuff that you just can't do with practical effects before, and Lucas was able to do it utilizing the CGI. We got amazing space battles, and we got to see more development on our favorite characters like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mace Windu come to light, as well as seeing Anakin's story evolve further, especially with Padme. So that's what I love that movie, and why it's one of my personal favorite Star Wars films. So now that we've cleared that one up a little bit, let's move on to the final one, and definitely the best of them, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This movie deals with Anakin's ultimate fall to the dark side and how he became Darth Vader, and also helps reestablish a lot of our characters. But it also suffers from a lot of the issues that the first two suffered from. It has a little bit of choppy dialogue, some questionable story moves, a little bit of bad acting, and definitely an overuse in the CGI department. If you thought Attack of the Clones was bad, there are full scenes in Revenge of the Sith that don't involve any practical effects whatsoever, that are just entirely CGI, and the movie can definitely suffer from that. But if you look past those major flaws, you can actually move forward and really appreciate it, like a lot of Star Wars fans have come to do. If you look at the awesome storytelling of how Anakin fell to the dark side, it was done really, really well. We get to see our favorite characters, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Master Yoda, and Anakin all evolve throughout the film drastically, as it's the final installment of this new saga that lays the groundwork for the movies that we all know and love. We get to find out how the characters that we love got to where they were when we found them in the original trilogy. And they definitely did use the CGI, again, in a lot of ways to help improve the movie, even if it was overused in a lot of times. Even giving us, though, the longest sword fight on screen history, and honestly one of the best lightsaber duels ever in the Star Wars history as well. So that movie definitely can stand on its own a lot better than the others, and its drawbacks definitely do not outweigh the amazing things they did with it. But it also has one other thing going for it, and that happened 5 or so years afterwards, when Star Wars The Clone Wars animated series came on Cartoon Network. This series, which had 6 seasons, spanned between episodes 2 and 3, and gave a lot more character development to the characters that we knew and loved, as well as adding in a few new characters to help it along. So it definitely filled in the gaps as to why some of the characters behaved the way they did, and help you kind of get to know the characters more, and even maybe like some characters you might not have before, just from the movies themselves. And so that definitely gives Revenge of the Sith a leg up on the other two. So, with that being said, I've taken you through all 3 of the different Star Wars prequel trilogy movies, and showed you some of the bad things about them, but also how the good things, hopefully, outweigh all the bad in them for you. And maybe I've done a little bit of a Jedi mind trick on you to help make these negotiations even shorter than they had to be, in convincing you that the prequel trilogy is still a great trilogy of movies and doesn't deserve the hate that it is given every single day by so many people in the Star Wars community. Thank you.